So this is my first YouTube video, and it's about my journey with breast cancer. I was just recently diagnosed with stage 3 breast cancer on January 2nd, 2020. I'm 31 years old, so as you can imagine, it was a huge shock to me. I actually discovered my lump myself 6 months ago. I've had 2 breast augmentations in my life, and I've always been a huge advocate of self-checking. So about 6 months ago, I felt a little lump in my breast when I was in the shower, just checking myself as I normally do. And I thought that my implant had kind of impaled in me, and somehow a piece of the plastic part had kind of ruptured and just went to the side of me because I have saline implants. So with saline implants, there's a contraption on the end of them that's used to actually fill them. So I thought that had kind of erupted. Over a couple of months, it started to grow. So it started to alarm me a little bit, but I was thinking, okay, well, you just go to your surgeon, you know, get them redone, get them taken out. But the actual tumor now started to grow, and I thought it was my body just kind of reacting to it and growing around it, kind of like a protection thing that your body does. But I started to feel a lot of pain, Actually, one night, maybe 4 weeks ago, I could not sleep on my right side at all. So when that happened, I was just like, okay, something's wrong. Let me go get a mammogram. They'll see, you know, this is like this little plastic piece in me. You know, I'll go to my surgeon, he'll take it back out. Little did I know, the day that I called to make my mammogram appointment, I called. I told them that I wanted to do just a regular self-check-up diagnosis mammogram, as most women do. They gave me the appointment the same day. When I got there, they actually informed me that I was too young for a mammogram because I'm 31 and women don't start getting mammograms until they're 40. When I got there, the lady at the front desk said, you know, if you're having a problem, you need to let me know. I didn't want to go to my primary care physician. I didn't want to wait. I just wanted, you know, to get a mammogram, see the plastic piece. You know, I know what it is. I go to my surgeon. It's over. And she says, you know, I would want somebody to do this for my daughter. So she took me to the back and she said to me, sorry, this part gets me a little emotional. She took me to the back and she informed me that if I was having an issue, I needed to let her know, and that she needed to call my primary care physician for authorization to do a 3D mammogram. She sat in the office with me for 30 minutes. She told me to get undressed. While we were sitting there, she started the procedure. She said I could lose my job for this, but I'd rather save your life. So as I'm sitting there and we're waiting to get the authorization from my primary care physician, as you know, physicians' offices are very busy during the day. So we were on hold for about 30 minutes. She did the mammogram and nothing came up on the mammogram. Fortunately though, after the mammogram, I showed her where I was having the issue and I pointed to it. And she said, okay. And she put a marker on me and she said, don't put your clothes back on, sit in this room. So I'm like, okay. She's like, I'm gonna get the doctor to come in and we're gonna do a sonogram. So I said, okay, we'll do a sonogram. You know, then you'll see it's just a little plastic piece. You could feel it from the outside at this point. She comes back in the room. She takes me into the sonogram room. We do the ultrasound. And the technician is actually on the lump, going over it. And then she starts to move up into my armpit. As she's moving up into my armpit, I'm thinking to myself, like, well, the lump is here. Like, why are you moving up into my armpit? So she says to me, she says, how long have you felt this? And so I said, well, honestly, 6 months. And she looked at me and she said, never wait this long. And I said, never wait this long for what? So she's just a sonogram lady. She says, I'll be right back. So she steps out of the room. She comes back into the room with the doctor. When the doctor comes in the room, the doctor informs me that this was not normal, what she was seeing on the ultrasound. And my mother has dense breast tissue like I do. So I informed her that, you know, it's probably just a cyst then. And she then hits a light on the ultrasound machine. And then when she hits light on the ultrasound machine, it pops up the blood supply that's actually going to the tumor. She says, cysts don't have blood supplies. This has a blood supply. This blood supply is going into your lymph nodes. And she says, is anybody here with you? So I said, no. And she says, is your mother alive? And I said, yes. And she said, do you want to call her? And I said, well, I don't know. Should I call her? And so she told me to call my mother. I called my mother. My mother was actually, she's a police officer, so she was doing Toys for Tots at that very moment and was doing a television interview and could not answer the phone. And she says, we can't tell you this until there's an actual biopsy done, but I do believe that this is cancer. I immediately started to cry, and I didn't understand why, because I'm in my mind just thinking I'm there for one thing, but it totally turned into something else. So I went alone, which you shouldn't do. I'm learning now. And getting that information at the time alone was probably the hardest part of this whole process for me. So I'm processing what she's saying, and she's saying we only do biopsies on Tuesdays here, but you can't wait that long. Mind you, it's a Thursday that I'm there. So I'm like, I can't wait 4 days. It's that serious? She's like, you need to go and get this checked out. My mother finally calls me back. She calms me down and she says, you know, we'll get the biopsy done. You know, everything will be fine. I get an appointment for my biopsy 3 days before Christmas. I get the biopsy done. Very painful. I'll make another video about that process because of it being in my lymph nodes and also in my breast and how deep it was. That experience alone was, I'll make another video explaining that. But anyway, we did the biopsy on 3 days before Christmas. And I got the results back for that biopsy 2 days after New Year's. And it's a very strange phone call because you kind of know what to expect, but hearing a doctor, you know, get on the phone with you and say, you know, I'm sorry, but your cells are positive for breast cancer is a hard pill to swallow at 31. So given all that information, I kind of gathered myself. I called my mother. Luckily, the week prior to the biopsy, I had told her, you know, whatever way this goes, I want to be ahead of it at all times as much as I can be in control. So we had already made appointments with 3 oncologists. During that time of making those 3 appointments, luckily, they all kind of fell in line to the day that I got the diagnosis. That next Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I had appointments with 3 different oncologists. So that's been my end of the like Christmassy, New Year's time for me. So I guess coming into 2020 has been very difficult for me, but I think I'm managing it really well. And I just feel as though I need to tell this story because I want other women to hear the story and to understand, you know, the importance of, you know, self-checking. How real this disease is. I don't feel sick at all, but I'm very sick. And that's the part that frightens me.